What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Vegas 17, Stephen Thompson versus Jeff Neal. And we have a very interesting slate here. We have a 14-fight card, which hopefully all these 14 fights stay on the card because it's just really interesting that there's not many big favorites on this card. I believe there's two that are over the minus 300 range, Rick Len and Nchukwu. Bilal Muhammad was supposed to be on the card. He would have been a big favorite as well, but he's off the card due to COVID. And I just feel like there's a ton of value on this slate because you get a ton of good value plays. Like somebody will talk about Rob Font, 7,200, and guys like that are way too cheap this week. And I kind of feel like the optimal lineup is going to be have a lot of salary left over as well. So I think lineup construction is going to be very interesting this week. So a couple announcements I want to make. The Friday live stream that is typically on Friday, it's going to be moved to Wednesday night. So if you miss it, it'll be posted on the channel. So go check that out. And then I do want to shout out the winner. I did the Draftkings contest last week, and the winner was Seaside 831 AP. If you're listening and watching this, comment down your PayPal Cashapp so I can get you your winnings. He had Fiziev, Figueiredo, Oliveira, Holland, Tucker, and Torres. So very good lineup there. So shout out to Seaside. Other than that, make sure you guys like this video. It helps out a ton. Subscribe if you have not yet. Would appreciate that a bunch as well. And, looking to close the 2020 year off strong with this card. I feel like there's a lot of opportunities to get a takedown and not share it with a million people. I mean, 14 fights. There's a lot of opportunities here. So with that said, we're going to get into it. Starting with the fight doesn't go to decision lines. And the first one we have here is Pickett and Nchukwu. And I think the finishing side is going to be more on the Nchukwu thing here, or Nchukwu's side here. And he's somebody that is only 4-0, but watching this dude, he has a ton of power. And what I was looking for is how's this guy's takedown defense, and it looks really good. So I think these two are going to stand with each other until one man falls, and I think that one man falling is going to be on the Pickett side. And it's really hard to see Pickett finishing Nchukwu. Pickett's not like some kind of crazy finisher, but Nchukwu, he is. So the thing about Pickett is he's never been knocked out. He's been submitted twice, but there really is a first for anything. And I think that Nchukwu is very, very live here for a knockout. So in this fight, I'm more leaning towards the Nchukwu side. I know Pickett is extremely cheap, but even if he does win, I don't really see him scoring all that much. Durden and Flick, minus 260 fight doesn't get to decision. This is a fight that I want on both sides because I can feel like there's path to victory for both guys to end up on the optimal lineup. Jimmy Flick, if he wins, it's going to be by submission. It means he's going to get this fight down to the mat. Durden, if he wins, that means he's keeping this fight on the feet and probably getting a knockout. Flick has been knocked out 4 times. And Durden has a decent amount of knockouts on his record. The only thing I don't like with Durden is in a lot of his fights, he does go to that wrestling. Would not recommend that here, but I do like Flick quite a bit in this fight, but I don't hate anybody for playing Durden at 7,500. I think both guys have a great opportunity to finish here, so this is definitely a fight I want to target on both sides. Next we have Chaos Williams versus Michel Pereira. Yeah, I feel like this fight could either finish early, or I feel like this fight can definitely go into the later rounds here. I can feel like maybe both guys respect each other's power, something like that happens, and then maybe it goes to decision. But, this is a fight you really do want to target, especially in the 8,300 to 7,900 range. I feel like both guys are more than capable of getting a knockout. Pereira has been knocked out before. Williams has not been knocked out yet, but Pereira does have a lot of power. Both guys do, so I do want both sides here. I honestly kind of lean towards the Williams side with the 7,900 price tag. You get 400 cheaper and tons of upside as well. We've seen what he's done so far in the UFC with 2 very early finishes, and that's kind of what we're looking for in DFS here. So I like Chaos Williams side, but I will definitely be playing some Michel Pereira as well. Dolce Lungambula, Dolce champion here versus Carl Roberson. Not in love with this fight. I think that Dolce has really nice finishing ability, a 6,900. We have saw Carl Roberson finish, I believe, in all 3 of his losses. All 3 being by submission. Dolce's not going to submit him or nothing, but I feel like Dolce could take him down, maybe hurt him. But I think this fight is a lot closer than the salaries indicate. Like Dolce at 6,900, that's pretty crazy there. So I definitely will have some Dolce. As for Carl Roberson, I think it's interesting because Dolce has been finished in both of his losses as well. He's been finished once by knockout, by Ankalaev, and once by submission also. So I can definitely see this fight finishing, but the problem is Carl Roberson's 9,300, which I don't like. But honestly, where you can make any lineup you want, I think it's okay. So that kind of is a fight I do want to target because both guys have never lost by decision. So that's something interesting there. That's something I pointed out last week with the Fiziev and Moicano. Both guys never lost by decision in that fight, and what do you know, it finished on that side with Fiziev getting a knockout. So definitely something I'm going to look at there. But the prices are really, really weird for that fight. Greg Hardy versus Marcin Tybura. I'm kind of Surprised it's only minus 150. Fight doesn't get to decision with all the power Greg Hardy has. And Tybura can definitely get a finish here if he does get Greg Hardy to the mat, which that's kind of what I'm predicting. I'm kind of on the Tybura side, but I like both sides here. I think Hardy can knock him out early, or I think Tybura can take down Hardy, grind him out, maybe get a TKO finish or a submission there. So I do like both sides there. Heavyweight fight. Typically in heavyweight fights, you do want to play both sides. Getting into the core plays, Jeff Neal, 8,400. I will have some Stephen Thompson, don't get me wrong, but I really like Jeff Neal here. I like the power. He brings a ton of power. He averages about a knockdown per fight. Stephen Thompson has been knocked down 4 times in the UFC. He's been knocked out once by Anthony Pettis. And I just watch him. I just like the combinations he puts together with power, and I really like him in this fight. The problem is 8,400. I feel like this should kind of be like an 8,200 matchup here, but I still think the 8,400 is fine. I'm not going to lock him in or anything, but I will have probably over 50%, maybe 60-40 in favor of Neal, maybe 55-45. I do want both sides of this fight because I do see it being high volume, and I actually see it finishing as well, so give me Jeff Neal here at 8,400. Next core play here, and this is just because it's so cheap, and there's so much value on this play, and that's Rob Font, 7,200. I can't believe the price here. I think this fight is a lot closer than these DraftKings salaries indicate, and we'll see a lot of that throughout the video because all of these fights are like really closely lined, so they have to put guys like Rob Font here at 7,200. I definitely want to take advantage of it. I am picking him to win. I think he's going to be throwing more volume, and the thing I like about Rob Font is he's never been knocked out. I think that's huge here. It's never been knocked down as well, which is huge as well, so the only thing I'm worried about is the Marias leg kicks, but I think that Font's going to be using his boxing, throwing more volume and getting a decision win. Don't necessarily see him finishing Marias, but Marias has been finished in, 2 of his last 3 fights, so something to think about there. But yeah, 7,200 is way too cheap for Rob Font. Next, we have Tafon Nchukwi, 9,400, going against Jamie Pickett, and this dude has a ton of power, and Pickett does have kind of like that tall man defense. He does leave some openings. He's never been knocked out, but if this guy hits you, he's going to knock you out. So I like Nchukwi quite a bit, 9,400. The only concern I have is he does throw very little volume, but when he lands like a truck. I do expect him to get a knockout here. Jillian Robertson, 8,000. I really like playing Robertson because she has a ton of upside. She's a finisher. She prefers submission over position. And I want to target this fight in general. I'll talk more about Tale Santos in a bit, but in Jillian Robertson's last 10 fights, she's either been finished or got the finish 9 out of 10 times. So it's safe to say I think this fight's going to finish, whether it's Robertson getting the takedown, maybe finding a sub, maybe getting a TKO victory, or Santos stuffing the takedown and getting a knockout on the feet, because I do think that if Santos stuffs the takedown, she's going to get a knockout here. So, I really like this fight as a whole. I'm going to have a lot. I know it's women's MMA, but I feel like this can score very, very high, especially at that 8,200 price tag there. But I will have slightly more Jillian Robertson because I think she has more finishing upside, but I will talk about Santos in a little bit. GPP Plays here, starting with Jimmy Flick, and this guy is a finisher. If this fight touches the mat, he's an absolute wizard, and he's probably going to get the submission. Jimmy Flick has an 87% finish rate, all by submission, and like I said earlier, the problem is he's been knocked out 4 times. The striking defense is suspect, the chin is very suspect, and yeah, Durden can very well knock him out, but if this fight touches the mat, Jimmy Flick's going to have a huge advantage, and honestly, he probably gets a sub. So Jimmy Flick at 8,700. I feel like this fight's going to end like in the first round, honestly, so I do want to target Flick quite a bit at that price tag. Michel Pereira, 8,300. We know that he's more than capable of scoring higher if he does not go in there and do cartwheels and flips, and I don't think he will. I don't think he should against someone like KS Williams, because that's definitely not going to slide. If he shows up here with the right fight IQ and actually tries to fight and not do backflips, cartwheels, Superman punches, all that, then I think he has a good chance of scoring well here. And like I said, Williams has never been knocked out, but watching tape on Williams prior to the UFC, he does leave a ton of openings that I think Pereira can definitely take advantage of. And maybe he is the first person to knock out Chaos Williams. I would not be surprised. Maybe he does what we all thought that Al-Hassan would do to Chaos Williams there. So, Pereira at 8,300, definitely a tournament play of mine. Greg Hardy touched on it a bit, 8,500 heavyweight fight. You do want both sides here. He very well could go out here and knock out Tybura in the first round. I love this price at 8,500 because I think there's a lot of upside. Tybura has been finished quite a few times in his career. Tybura has been finished 4 times by knockout. He's been finished in 4 of his 6 losses by knockout. So, give me Greg Hardy here at 8,500 for a really good tournament play. On the flip side, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I think Tybura is a good play as well. Antonio Arroyo, 8,900, a little bit expensive, but I really like him here, and I probably can see him finishing. Just watching tape on Deron Winn, just not impressed with the guy whatsoever. He leaves a ton of openings on the mat. I've seen him on the regional scene almost get submitted. He got submitted by Gerald Mearshart, and I just think Arroyo has multiple paths to victory, whether it is Winn shooting for takedowns. He's going to be playing with fire because Arroyo has a really good ground game, and I think Winn, honestly doesn't have the best ground game in the world, so I can definitely see Arroyo using that ground game, maybe getting a sweeper reversal or even catching him in something. And on the feet, Arroyo's going to have a 9-inch height advantage. He's going to have the power advantage, the striking advantage. He's going to use that range, that length, and he hits very hard. He kicks very hard. I saw Deron Winn almost fall and stumbled off of a leg kick on the regional scene. If this guy kicks your legs, you're going down. So I actually really like Arroyo here. Not a bad inside the distance line as well. I think it's like plus 125. So, yeah, give me Arroyo. I think he's going to be lower owned. With like so many great plays on the slate, I think like everybody's going to be lower owned. So very interesting slate here. And I think going up and getting Arroyo at 8,900 is not a bad idea there. I'm not overly high on Winn. I don't think he's the best fighter. Talia Santos, 8,200. Like I said earlier, if she's able to stuff the takedown, she's going to most likely get a knockout here. And she does have some good power. We saw it in her last fight, and we have seen her finish fights before. She has a 76% finish rate. And like I said, this is a fight you are going to want to target as a whole. I feel like this fight has a really good chance of finishing, whether it is Robertson getting the sub or TKO, or whether it is Santos being able to stuff the takedowns and getting a knockout, because we have seen Robertson knocked out once officially, but once on the Ultimate Fighter as well. All right, getting into the live dogs, Marcin Tybura, 7,700. I think he has a lot more experience here. I think if he comes in here and fights smart, takes the fight down to the mat, grinds on Greg Hardy, gets him tired. Hardy does not have the best gas tank. I don't think Tybura has the best gas tank, but I think he has a much better gas tank than Greg Hardy here, especially if he's wrestling Hardy, taking him down. And watching tape on Hardy and the Alan Crowder fight, I know that was a couple years ago, or like a year and a half ago, but Crowder got him into a really dominant position, and it looked like Hardy had no idea what he was doing on the mat. And I'm sure he's made improvements since then, but still, Tybura is a legit black belt. He has multiple subs on his record as well, 35% submission rate, 30% knockout rate. I feel like if he can take Greg Hardy down, kind of get him very, very tired, I feel like you can finish him late in the fight here. So I think Tybura is a very, very interesting option, and especially at heavyweight, you do want to target both sides. Chaos Williams touched on it a bit. We saw what he did in the past two fights. Went out there and starched Alex Morono. Went out there and starched Alisson. Could he go out here and starch Michel Pereira? I think he could. We've seen Pereira knocked out before, so really, really have to pay attention to this guy, Chaos Williams. I've been fading him the past couple times. Probably not going to fade him here. Probably not a good idea. He looks like a completely different fighter than the UFC. Like he left so many openings up on the regional scene, and he was going to decisions with guys on the regional scene. But comes into the UFC, this dude's a monster, and it's really hard to pick against him at this point. But just a fight I want to target as a whole. Stephen Thompson, 7,800. Definitely going to have a lot of this fight. I feel like he's the more experienced fighter. I feel like he's fought the better competition. His striking is very, very good, but he is getting up there in age. He's like 37 years old. I am picking Neal, but I definitely can see a scenario where Thompson's able to keep his range, keep his distance, land some shots on Neal. He's going to have the better cardio. I think the 5 rounds does favor Thompson as well, so I will have some Thompson for sure. I'm thinking maybe 55-45 in favor of Neal, or maybe 60-40 in favor of Neal. I feel like Neal has the better finishing upside, but would not be surprised at all if Thompson got a decision or even got a finish late in the fight. So I do like that fight a lot. I'm going to have nearly 100% on that fight, honestly. Cody Durden, 7,500. If he's able to stuff the takedowns of Flick, if he's able to avoid the wrestling in this fight, keep it on the feet, I feel like he can definitely get a knockout here. Flick's striking defense, like I mentioned, is very suspect. His chin's very suspect, and Durden has some solid power, solid knockouts on his record as well. So Durden has a 90% finish rate, 45 by knockout, 45 by submission, and I would not be completely shocked whatsoever if he went out here and knocked out Flick. But, yeah, give me Durden here at 7,500. I think that's a very good play, and I think it's a very good fight to target in general. All right, going down to the pump plays. Dolce Langabula, Dolce champion here, 6,900. I mean, he has some solid finishing upside. We have seen Roberson finish in all 3 of his losses, and Dolce does have some really good power as well. So I think this price is very, very intriguing to me. I think he has takedown upside. Obviously, I favor Carl Roberson. I think he has a better ground game. I think Carl Roberson's going to be the faster fighter, more output. But, Dolce hits like a truck. He really does. And if he is able to get down, Roberson to the mat. Maybe he can land some ground and pound, maybe get him out of there with some strikes. So I don't hate Dolce at 6,900 at all. I think he has a lot of upside at that price, and I think the fight is a lot closer than the 6,900 price tag you're seeing here. I really do think it is. Next pump play, we have Alex Morono, 7,000. I feel like this fight's going to be extremely close as well. What I like about Morono is he throws a ton of output. A lot of people think he's shinny. I don't think he's shinny, but he got starched by Chaos Williams. He got knocked out by Nico Price. Two guys that hit like absolute trucks, so no shame in that. And I just think Pettis is slowing down, especially at 170. He has not looked all that great. I thought he lost his last fight against Donald Cowboy Cerrone. And I'm not impressed with Pettis right now, but could Pettis win? Sure, I think he can win a really close decision. It's going to be all up to what the judges are seeing. Are they going to look at the more volume for Alex Morono? Because he is going to be throwing a lot more volume, almost double the volume of Pettis, someone who's typically very low volume, especially these days. Or are they going to look at the flashy strikes from Pettis, kind of the nicer looking shots from Pettis? And I don't know. I feel like this fight is honestly 50-50, and you're giving me 7,000 for Alex Morono, somebody who's in his prime, somebody who's 30 years old. And I know he hasn't fought the best competition or nothing like that, or been the most impressive fighter. But I think this is a really good matchup, especially if he can take down Pettis. I think he can if he wants to. Morono has some solid wrestling that we don't get to see much in the UFC because he doesn't go to it. He's a black belt in BJJ that I think he can use here as well. And just go for takedowns, out volume Pettis here, but I do feel like it's going to be very close, and I feel like the winner can score decently high. And we did see Alex Morono go out there in his last fight against Reese McKee. I know it's Reese McKee, but he went out there and absolutely broke the slate his last time. So definitely looking at Alex Morono as a pump play here. And then fades 8,800. This fight has the worst fight, doesn't go to decision line. I think it's like plus 250. I think there's really no need to play this fight on DraftKings. There's so many other fights you can choose from, especially the 8,800 on Eubank, somebody that typically does not score all that well. I feel like the 6 winners we're going to get on the optimal lineup, I feel like they're all going to probably score over 100 points, and I don't feel like Eubanks is going to do that. So I can see her, I don't know, maybe scoring like around like 80-something points at the most, especially in this matchup. I don't really see her finishing Pandy unless she gets a submission or something like that, but even then, it's not all that likely. So not going to have much Eubanks this week. The other fight I'm looking at kind of fading or being really low owned to is going to be the Jose Aldo Marlon Vera fight. Aldo is 8,600, Marlon Vera 7,600. I don't see Aldo finishing Marlon Vera. Vera's never been finished in 25 fights, and I don't really see Vera finishing Jose Aldo there. So I think that fight's going to gain a lot of ownership, and another reason why I don't really want to go too much on that as well. I think it's going to be a nice pivot to pivot off that fight in general, especially it being the co-main, especially with Jose Aldo being like a very, very well-known name, and Marlon Vera even gaining some hype as well. All right, guys, that's about it. Always a reminder, you can come to Patreon and receive my full access to my model with all the stats for each and every fighter. On there, you get the premium projections, the GPP lineup percentages, my DraftKings article, access to Discord, and almost 300 people on the Patreon right now. Really appreciate everybody that signed up. Almost 100 people in the past month, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much. Helps me out a ton. And other than that, thanks for watching. Looking to bounce back from last week. It was a really rough week. But yeah, this week should be a lot better, a lot more options to choose from. 14-fight slate. I feel like the optimal, like I said, is going to have a lot of salary left, so going to try to get a little bit different. Going to try to take down a GPP, hopefully with minimal ties. I mean, 14 fights, there should be minimal ties here. So that's about it, guys, and good luck. And then don't forget to tune in to the live stream on Wednesday if you can't make it. It's going to be posted on my channel there. So that's about it, and thank you, guys.